Hey everyone, how's it going? I've got here another mod that is unlike any of the other ones I've played, and well, let's just say that it's a very dark one too. Quite literally. But before we dive into it, let's do a quick backtrack. Doom 3 was the game in the series to opt for a survival horror take on the franchise, settling for a grounded setting in comparison to the classics, where it was all about one big slaughterfest with you and your badass arsenal getting the job done. In Doom 3, you had to take things slowly more or less, and enemies would often try to scare you before trying to kill you. As for the reception of Doom 3, critically it did well, but a lot of Doom fans were also dissatisfied with the complete overhaul of the formula that they had known since '93. In any case, the modding community for the classic Doom games had thrived over the years, coming up with an insane number of different mods that even go outside of the FPS genre, since the GZ Doom engine was capable of tackling other games too. But what if I told you that some people have made hardcore survival horror FPS games for the classic Doom games? And no, not like 64 or Doom 3, but I mean the type where there's little to no ammo, enemies are scarce but extremely deadly. Well, I have one of them, named Project Alaln. Project Alaln is an overhaul mod created by Prolog, creating a fusion between the likes of Resident Evil, Stalker, Silent Hill, and Doom, putting it all together into a blender and making a hardcore survival horror experience out of them. Now before I get into this mod, I just want to make one thing clear. This mod is very difficult, and isn't quite balanced. I would advise playing it on the easy difficulty on the first go. You'll see exactly why once you start playing it. Anyway, onto the mod. Now this is a mod for Doom 2, but you can also run any of the official WODs from the expansions, as well as the Ultimate Doom, as well as other mega WODs made by other people. However, what it brings to the table here are a combination of different things entirely, coming in the guise of two main mods, Project Alaln itself and Project Malice. So what does Project Alaln bring here? Well, it changes the behavior of damage values, the management of both items and weapons, creating a more manual approach to everything. So how does that work exactly? Well, firstly, you have the inventory system, which holds your healing items, bombs, and grenades, as well as power-ups in the event that you need them. You have to manually select it and then you can use it, so it's not as automatic as the classic Doom games are. And this system goes across the act of healing, putting on armor, even to the point of reloading weapons. Your pistol, rifles, shotguns, and machine guns all require manual reloading, with pulling the bolt or pumping the shotgun. The super shotgun itself also has you putting in one shell at a time, that it makes Doom 3 look like an arena shooter by comparison. The weapons themselves also have a more weighted and realistic feel to them, meaning you have to really consider your shots before pulling the trigger. On the topic of ammo, there's barely any in each level, so you have to play this game of hoarding ammo to save against the tougher enemies, and rely on your melee weapons for the easy fodder. To balance this issue though, you have less enemies to deal with, which I will get into later. Oh, and a pro tip, you need to actually pick up the items on the ground with a button now, meaning that it's easy to miss crucial items when you really need them, especially on the realism difficulty, which I wouldn't recommend personally, but it's up to you if you want to give it a go. Your character, depending on the difficulty, can take an insane amount of damage from even the basic enemies. Most, if not all, attacks will cause bleeding, meaning you have to bandage yourself, and since the enemies themselves are quite fast, you can't afford to get hit any further, since it will decrease the likelihood of you surviving the next encounter. Because of this, you have to take the game a lot slower, as if it's a real-life situation. It's dark most of the time, you have only a lighter and a night vision power-up to help you see, and even then you're vulnerable when you're using this, because you can only fire with a sidearm while you're using the lighter, and the night vision is limited. It's really tricky with the manual inputs, and like I said, this mod is quite hard, but eventually you'll get the hang of it and appreciate what this mod does try to do. And now the big part of this mod. The horror vibes, the revamped enemies that are not only way scarier than the original counterparts, but are also more dangerous than you are. Even the basic zombies can give you a hard time if you're not careful. The designs seem to be more dreamlike and nightmarish, rather than simply redoing the fire and brimstone look that most of the demons have in the classics. They're fast, make noises throughout the level, making you more paranoid and confused throughout the level, and like I said, there aren't a lot of them. You would think that it's a bad thing though, since you're going through mostly empty rooms in the hope that you'll encounter an enemy or a couple. Well, no. This is a good thing, because it would be near impossible if there were as many as there normally is in the original levels. Trust me. The emptiness of the levels in this mod make up for it with the sudden changes of the atmosphere, alongside the dark ambient music selected for this mod. It adds way more tension to everything that you're doing. In this mod, you don't feel like a badass in this mod anymore. You're just a survivor, all alone with unimaginable horrors around the corner, where you're actually hoping that the room is empty. And that's the mod really, a hardcore survival horror take on the classic Doom formula that makes it more scary and harder than some of the other horror games that I've played. I know that there isn't a great deal that I've shown in this video, but because of how well it's done, it's honestly better that you experience the whole thing yourself. It's continuously being worked on, and the modder is quite active and is always responding to feedback. Project Alaln is a fantastic horror overhaul mod for Doom 2, and I would highly recommend it, even though it's a pretty brutal experience. Thank you for watching.